in Europe, although it has recently been surpassed both on the Eiffel Tower as well as the Tower Bridge in London. So as you go past, don't forget if you have and if you wish, a small thank you can be left in the bucket as you step off the boat itself. On behalf of myself and the crew, thank you very much. Have a lovely rest of your day here at the Historic Dockyard. Very short safety announcement. Therefore, the very unlikely event of an emergency, please maintain the seats at the forward end of the sling, as well as inside the life jacket box on both the front end and top deck. If you fire over or climb upon any side railings, and for any young children on board, please ensure they do not run around the vessel. It was divided into 3 distinct sections. There was a red fleet, a white and a blue. The last surface fleet. So the first jetty of the base, here on the right, is known as the South Railway Jetty. Gets that name because it used to be as far south the rail line of Portsmouth used to extend to. That though was all the way until many years ago when the rail line that was here. But with the train line gone, the jetty instead become the home to the big red brick building in the background, the one with the sandy coloured tower on top of it. The building is known as Semaphore Tower and it plays home to a group known as the Queen's Harbour Master, or QHM for short. Westminster, she is one of 13 Duke-class of Type 23 frigates. 13 in total means they pretty much make up the backbone of the fleet itself. With her sister ship further into the naval base, and we'll talk a bit more about the Elizabeth later on. Because we're pressing on, as we do so, we're now coming past the Victory Jet open to the public. They reckon every year, well over 250,000 people will actually roam round her and explore the various places while on board. There we go from one of the world's oldest warships to one of the world's newest. Coming to view, ladies and gentlemen, of course, is our brand new Queen Elizabeth class supercarrier, HMS Queen Elizabeth herself. Now, the Queen Elizabeth from the Bristol, right, she weighs in at just shy of 70,000 tonnes. In theory, this makes her about 3 times the size of our previous Invincible class of aircraft carriers. To be slightly more specific though, they're 280 metres long, 70 metres wide. There's then also today, she is of course the older one of the two. He arrived back in 2017, whereas the Prince of Wales arrived in this service actually last year, around the time. He then spent 7 months out of deployment, travelling all around the globe, primarily down to the Indo-Pacific region. She departed the harbour and she's now off on deployment herself. Now she's not going away for very long this time. First time round she's only going off on a 3-month training before then leaving again, and maybe that time round she'll be going off for a while. It's likely she'll follow a sort of similar pattern to the Queen Elizabeth. Now that she's out on deployment, or now out on trials with NATO, she's at 50,000 feet. And all whilst doing this, thanks to their stealth superstructure, they can remain completely hidden from enemy detection. In turn, it makes the D-37 being HMS Duncan, one of 6 daring class Type 45 destroyers. You also have the big grey ball you can see up on the top of the tallest mast. That is the Samson multi-functioning radar system. That's the box you can see up on the bow or the front of the warship. Within it, they carry 40 missiles in total. They get launched out vertically into the edge of the atmosphere, to then use the information gathered by that radar system to be sent towards their targets. Now, it's self-controlled Gatling gun, capable of spraying out to 3,500 rounds a minute, and it creates a wall of steel about 200 metres off the side of her. The frigates, like I said, some of the oldest ships we have, they primarily were used for what's called mining submarines. It's primarily using a sonar radar. Now behind that is then a rather familiar looking grey box with the doors on the side of it, that being the housing for the anti-aircraft Sea Sceptre missiles. suggesting she could be sold to a foreign navy, but that never materialised, and has since been sat where you can see her ever since then. Marked out by the sandy coloured round tower. From that point onwards though, you enter into the commercial part of the harbour. However, over the past couple of years, we've actually expanded the variety of things that come and go. So nowadays it's not just bananas, like the geese line ship will be bringing in, it's also things such as wind turbine blades. However, on the Sunday they have what's known as a lay-by day, which means they'll be going through any drills and training with the crew before returning to service. Only then to be recommissioned a few years later as a static training ship, which is what she was right up until the end of last year. At the end of last year though, she was completely removed from service, laid up where you see her now. But now, so for this short time of this journey, I will leave in peace from the commentary. However, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. Large grey structure with a crane on top of it. Well, that there is an area known as the UMAP, and that stands for the Upper Crane Network. But eventually, housing groups imposed. They deemed it just a little bit too unsafe to have so many things come learn about the history of naval firepower. So of course, passing down the left-hand side, great deeds of the Queen Elizabeth, especially now we're a touch further away from her. There is a bit more of the ship around the world who have adopted the Twin Island design so far. The island has its own unique role. So, for example, the one up on the front by the ski ramp, closest to us at the moment, that's the bridge where they drive the air or guides all the aircraft in and around the carrier itself. What's unique about this design is that the rolls are interchangeable. So, if one of the islands was to go down, to lose power or get damaged or anything, things go a little bit pear-shaped. So to move along, looking over to our left-hand side, from where we're sat at the moment, getting a great view of Portsmouth Millennium Project. Originally going to be clean until 2005. So I'm even going to call it the Millennium Tower. They had to rename it Civic Tower. It also meant the subsequent build cost soon, and it's now been removed at a further cost of another £2 million. You can now still travel behind us and eventually into the city of Portsmouth. Well, during peak time traffic, this can take nearly an hour in a car. To avoid it, we advise it's shorter by water. In fact, the ferries are proving to be so popular they carry nearly 3 million people to and fro. These were all built by a guy called Lord Palmerston, and they were done to have the fen forces from the impending French invasion. In their original state they were back in Nelson's time, apparently it's fairly haunted.